In a bustling city, there lived a young boy named Tommy. He was known throughout his neighborhood for his bad manners and unruly behavior. Tommy's parents were both busy professionals. His father was a lawyer, and his mother was a doctor. They loved Tommy very much, but were often away from home due to their demanding jobs. This left Tommy in the care of various nannies over the years. One day, a new nanny named Mrs. Parker came to take care of Tommy. She was a kind, elderly lady with a warm smile and a patient heart. From the very first day, Mrs. Parker noticed Tommy's bad manners. He would shout, throw tantrums, and refuse to listen. But Mrs. Parker was not discouraged. She believed that every child could change with the right guidance and a little bit of love. One sunny afternoon, after another one of Tommy's tantrums, Mrs. Parker decided it was time to have a heart-to-heart conversation with him. She found Tommy sulking in his room and gently knocked on the door.
Tommy, may I come in?
She asked softly.
Whatever.
Tommy shrugged but didn't say anything. Mrs. Parker continued.
Tommy, I know you're upset, and I want to understand why. Can we talk?
Tommy shrugged but didn't say anything. Mrs. Parker continued.
I know your parents are very busy, and I can see that it makes you sad. But lashing out and being rude won't make things better. It only makes you feel worse, and it hurts those around you.
Tommy looked at her, his eyes starting to well up with tears.
I just miss them so much, Mrs. Parker. They're never around, and I feel so alone.
Mrs. Parker put a comforting arm around him.
I understand, Tommy. It's okay to miss your parents and feel sad. But there are better ways to express your feelings. You can talk about them, write them down, or even draw pictures. And you can always talk to me. I'm here for you.
Tommy wiped his tears and nodded.
But it's hard, Mrs. Parker. Sometimes I just feel so angry.
Osha, I know it's hard. But you are a smart and kind boy, Tommy. I believe you can find better ways to deal with your feelings. Let's start with small steps. When you feel angry or sad, take a deep breath and count to 10. Think about how you want others to treat you and try to treat them the same way.
Tommy took a deep breath, trying to calm himself.
Okay, Mrs. Parker. I'll try.
Over the next few weeks, Mrs. Parker worked closely with Tommy. She praised him when he used good manners and gently corrected him when he slipped up. She also made sure to spend quality time with him, playing games, reading stories, and just listening to him. Slowly but surely, Tommy began to change. He learned to express his feelings in healthier ways and started treating others with kindness and respect. His tantrums became less frequent, and he even began to help Mrs. Parker with chores around the house. One evening, Tommy's parents came home early and were surprised to find him setting the table for dinner. They couldn't believe the change in their son.
Tommy, this is wonderful.
His mother exclaimed.
We're so proud of you.
Tommy smiled a bit shyly.
Mrs. Parker helped me. She taught me a lot of things.
His father nodded gratefully at Mrs. Parker.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Mrs. Parker smiled warmly.
Tommy did all the hard work. He has a big heart and a lot of love to give. He just needed a little guidance.
From that day on, Tommy's parents made more effort to spend quality time with him, even if it meant just a few minutes each day. They realized how important it was to be there for their son, not just physically, but emotionally as well. And as for Tommy, he continued to grow into a kind, well-mannered boy who always remembered Mrs. Parker's wise words and the love she had shown him. He knew that no matter how busy his parents were, they loved him very much, and he could always count on them, and Mrs. Parker too.